Hi, this is Kurt with Friendly DevOps, a channel dedicated to discussing Linux and DevOps related topics. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that gave my team and I a bit of a scare early last month. And that issue I'm going to be talking about is a module that we were using for GitHub Actions. And we use this module in order to determine if any files were changed. And so I'll go over what the issue was and I'll provide a bit of a solution. This is a bit of a warning for people out there using modules for GitHub Actions. Here's a module by a GitHub account called TJ Actions, and this module is used to identify change files within your repository. And we were utilizing this module for quite some time. There was an injection of malicious code into several of their releases that led to notification. And let's go to their releases and read what they state regarding that malicious code injection. So here it says, security alert. A critical security issue was identified in this action due to a compromised commit. This commit has been removed from all tags and branches, and necessary measures have been implemented to prevent similar issues in the future. Actions required, and it goes through a list of actions required to address it. So, needless to say, this resulted in a significant scare at my place of employment. And this led to us reviewing our policy of utilizing third party modules altogether. So, for something as simple as determining whether there are change files within your repository, there's no need to use a third party module. In fact, GitHub has several APIs. One is a REST API, the other is a GraphQL API. The GraphQL API is considerably harder to use, and it's has a bunch of bugs and quirks that will result if you try to use curl. So best to use the REST API. And so here we're just going to go to the REST API and check out what would we use simply for checking if there are any changed files within our repository. Here is a curl command for accessing the API. Here we have the endpoint for getting the list of commits. And as we scroll down here, we can see more information. So we could get the list branches from head and pull requests and the like. And we can get a specific commit and all of that. What we're going to be utilizing is simply just to get a commit. And so we'll copy this and then we'll be utilizing this in GitHub Actions. So as we can see here, all you need to update here is the name of your the repository owner, the name of the repo, and then you'd have to get the commit SHA or the reference to that exact commit with your token as your personal access token. But since we're utilizing GitHub Actions has their own embedded one-time use GitHub token that is available once you run any GitHub Actions workflow. So here we're going to look at our code, which is very simple, easy to use. First, we're going to check out all of the code from our repository. And then we're just going to run the curl command and save it into this response variable. And then here, we're going to take all of the files that are in this file name component, and we're going to store that into the files variable. And within the files variable, we are then going to replace all of the new lines with spaces. And the reason for that is when we do this echo change files line into this GitHub output variable, if we have new lines instead of spaces, this will cause the variable to treat them as new lines and new commands, which will then result in an error. So our next stage or step within this workflow is simply to echo the output of the change files or the list of files that we have created. So for that, I'm going to go into my repository. As you can see, this is the repository with the code that we are looking at. And for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to create a bunch of files. Then I'm going to add them. I'm going to commit them with a message. And then I push. All right. So now we're just going to go to the GitHub Actions. And you see this demo. It's already ran. It was a very short workflow. So list changes, you're not really going to see anything here. We just, but you're going to see that the curl ran and downloaded some data. And for here, as you can see, our 3 files have been updated. I would say you shouldn't rely on third-party modules when creating GitHub Actions workflow in order to interact with GitHub itself. You should be using the REST APIs. So here is the URL. I'll be putting it in the description. So that goes to show you that while open source is great, there are malicious actors out there that will manipulate and use it to their advantage. And while I'm very appreciative of the team or the individuals maintaining the modules at TJ Actions, I would say for something as simple as interacting with GitHub and retrieving resources from GitHub in your workflows, it's better to just use the APIs. And with that, I'd appreciate if you like the video and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.